Have you ever wanted to break free from the chains of perfectionism? I'm Wendy Gunn, and we're going to talk about how you can do that today. Stay with me, and you will hear how I have overcome perfectionism and procrastination. I spent years competing and copying my friends, thinking that if I took a little bit of this person, a little bit of that person's life and the things they were doing, which were good things, and I made them my own, I could be a pretty cool person. But then I realized years later, even if you could completely achieve that friend or that friend's goals, you will have failed in life because you will have missed the purpose that God has for you. I want to talk to you today because I think that there's an epidemic of procrastinating perfectionism, and you can overcome it. First of all, what do you have to lose if you don't overcome it? Well, one of the things I already talked about, and that is completely failing in life, missing your purpose, meeting God face to face, and you won't hear, "Well done." Besides that, if you are a parent, you are raising children who will imitate you. They're watching. If you are trying to be someone else, if you're trying to be perfect, you're going to be a very stern parent. You're going to be bitter and resentful. You're going to be angry a lot of the time. And your expectations of your children are going to be way out of line, and they're going to feel it. When I was, ask me how I know, when I was raising my children and I was caught up in procrastinating perfectionism, trying to be someone that I wasn't, I was a rule keeper and set up all of these rules for my children, and they knew I wasn't living up to them myself. They knew and could see what was going on. It was not fun. A lot of us are trying to do that, and we're trying to check the boxes. If we do this, 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 and this today, we have succeeded. Have you ever done that? Have you ever felt like, if I just do this, this, and this, and then you add more and more expectations to yourself? God is a God of relationship. He has sent his son to die for you, and he wants to have a relationship with you. He has set up the whole world in relationships. He wants that first relationship with him. And Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's the first commandment. Love others as yourself. That's the second. It's all about relationship, isn't it? He set up relationships with your spouse as a picture of the church and him. He always had analogies. So I was going along, copying and comparing, competing and coveting other people's lives. And I was extremely obese. I was miserable. But God had a plan. And he intervened. And one day he changed my life. I have achieved many big goals in my life, and I would not have been able to do that if God hadn't intervened and if I hadn't been able to overcome procrastinating perfectionism. One day, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I had 2 football-sized tumors inside of me, and it had not been caught early, and they thought it had spread. Well, God was doing a lot of things during that time. The first thing that He did was to get me into surgery in 3 days after my diagnosis. A miracle, pretty much. But then He did a real miracle. In the 3 days, everyone I knew and many who I didn't know were praying for me. And 3 days later, when I went into surgery, the surgeon found 1 tumor contained, and it had been caught early. Let that sink in. Either a trained professional had seen and measured, I have it documented, a tumor that did not exist, or God did a miracle. Amazing. And what a testimony that was to all the medical staff and my doctor, my surgeon. Miracle. And then after chemotherapy, I have been over 20 years cancer-free. Through the biggest trial of my life with ovarian cancer, God was changing me. He wanted to change me. And that's often what He does when He wants to do a huge work. He will bring or allow a trial, a big trial. And that's what He's done in my life over and over and over again. Are you feeling unsettled? Are you feeling like you're dissatisfied with your life? Are you feeling this sense of desperation rising? Those could be signs that God's about to do an incredible work in your life, because that's how He makes me feel before each time that He has done something amazing. I have this analogy that I call it God tilling the soil of my life and my heart, removing everything in the soil, often removing things that I love. He's clearing it, clearing the field, and then He fertilizes it. He dumps manure all over it in the form of trials, losses. What are you going to lose if you don't respond to God in obedience? If you don't get over procrastinating perfectionism, what are you going to lose? What are all the people around you going to lose because you didn't show up and do the amazing thing that God has prepared? When God is tilling the soil and fertilizing it, He's preparing. And if you give up, if you think, oh, this is way too hard, I'm giving up. If you quit, or if you set perfectionistic expectations instead of trusting in the Lord, listening to Him, and being responsive, ready letting God prepare your heart and your mind and your spirit. That's what you need to do because He's about to plant seeds. Wait for it. Wait on the Lord. He is ready to do an incredible work. So I said, He prepares, tills the soil. He dumps manure, fertilizes it, and then He plants seeds, a seed or seeds. There was a little seed that wanted to be a mighty oak tree. It knew that's what God had created it to be. What does that seed have to do before it can become a mighty oak? Listen carefully. That seed has to be willing to be changed. Are you ready? Are you willing to be changed? To become all that God created you to be? You have to be willing to stop like the seed, being a seed, being who you are now, in order for God to achieve the greatness in you that He created you for. He has a plan. He has a plan. All of the goals that I've achieved came after the big trial. All that God was doing to prepare. And then He planted a seed, a desperation in me to be healthier. I said I was obese, very obese. The next year after going through chemo and being cancer-free, I lost 50 pounds. That was big goal number one. I was ready to be changed. I felt like it was life and death. And that's what you have to feel like with God's seeds in you. You have to have the mindset that I have to obey God or die. Yeah, it's that serious. God is going to do something incredible in your life. But you have to have such a strong commitment to obey and rely on Him. He'll make you able. He'll do the work in you. But you need to be ready to change. What got you here won't get you there. Have you heard that saying? You have to be willing to change. So I was desperate and I lost 50 pounds. That was the first domino falling in many goal-achieving dominoes. So let's talk about the steps that God took me through, and He'll take you through. First, you are here and you're miserable. Your way is not working. If you are trying to be perfect, first of all, who are you to decide what's perfect? And then, who on earth are you or I to think that we could achieve perfection in our strength? But we're perfectionistic. God wants to change us. So what does He do first? He tills the soil, and then second, He dumps manure, fertilizer all over it, and prepares the soil of our hearts. Then He plants seeds or a seed. 3. Step 3. And our response, number 4, has to be one that says, change me, Lord. I'm yours. I'm yours. Do whatever you want. I'm going to obey. These are the first steps to overcoming procrastinating perfectionism. Click below where you can overcome procrastinating perfectionism in your life.